4 months into dating, you guys want to tell us what you decided to do? It seems like a, red flag. Don't do this. What did you guys do? Lou, I'm going to call on you. Want to share the story, what you guys decided to do 4 months into dating?
Yeah. This was back in 2005. We decided to start our first business together, and we had met and moved in together 4 months later, and then started a business at the same time. And yeah, we thought we were crazy, but I'll tell you,
no, you were crazy. It's not.
I was crazy.
You guys were like, hey, do we want to?
Everyone thought we were nuts.
Do you want to jump on the train track and see if we can dive out of here in time?
You know what? It's gonna determine. That's a great way to find out if you're gonna last any length of time. Yeah, I'll promise you that. But it also pulls off the strengths and weaknesses of each person, really, if you really look at it from that perspective. But not everyone can do that and survive. But we realized real quickly. I realized real fast that as we started that business, that this was good. We were good. We were good partners. We were able to figure out fairly quickly, the strengths and weaknesses of each one of us to be able to capitalize on that. Who was good here? Who was good here? Who was not good on certain areas and didn't want to do certain things. Which then since then we've worked very well together. So
I think that's a great lesson for anybody, whether you're married, you're dating, you're single. If you want to really find out how, get a reality check, entrepreneurship is what did it for me.
We all get stuck along the journey multiple times. The whole point, though, and the missions that we're talking about here, and Mike, on our mission seems to be very similar, is the transformation piece. Change is not an event, all right? Change is not an event. It's a process.
Hey guys, our guests today are known for their highly effective coaching, teaching, and speaking on the importance of personal growth and how it impacts our influence as a leader. They are certified leadership coaches and corporate trainers with more than 4 decades of combined experience. They've trained and received mentoring from well-known coaches and teachers from the likes of Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, John Maxwell, Jack Canfield, Paul Martinelli, and many others. Welcome to the show, Lou, Everett, and Sherri McManus.
Hey, Mike. Thank you. Thank you for having us on.
Thanks for having us.
This is awesome, guys. There's going to be so much value for entrepreneurs, business leaders, people getting into entrepreneurship and overcoming adversity. I know both of you have tremendous stories that we're going to dive into. But first and foremost, I want to thank you for your time being here. I know you're extremely busy. We're recording this like 1 year into the pandemic, and I know you've had so much going on with that, and you've been able to overcome it, and you're taking time out of your busy schedules to be here and help educate our audience in any way that we feel we can, right? And we said off camera, if we can help one person today, we're going to do this. We do it 100 times out of 100. So thank you for your time being here today.
Absolutely.
Very welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep. Here to help.
And you guys can dive right into their content. It's at loueverettgroup.com, and that's where all their socials listed. It's clickable. It's very easy to get to it. Lou Everett is LOUEVERETT group.com. And here's an interesting story. We're going to start with this one right here. So a lot of times entrepreneurs, right, if they're not, they may be married and have this kind of situation where, either their spouse is highly supportive of the entrepreneurial journey. There could be tension there, right? Or a lot of times it's trying to find the right partner who's going to understand the crazy. There's a lot that's a whole podcast we can go through right there.
Yeah.
What I love about your story is you guys were dating for 4 months. Right? 4 months, not a lot of time, enough to kind of feel you're pretty serious with somebody, right? And 4 months into dating, you guys want to tell us what you decided to do? It seems like a, red flag. Don't do this. What did you guys do? Lou, I'm going to call on you. Want to share the story, what you guys decided to do 4 months into dating?
Yeah. This was back in 2005. We decided to start our first business together, and we had met and moved in together 4 months later, and then started a business at the same time. And yeah, we thought we were crazy, but I'll tell you,
no, you were crazy. It's not.
I was crazy.
You guys were like, hey, do we want
to?
Everyone thought we were nuts.
Do you want to jump on the train track and see if we can dive out of here in time for?
You know what? it's going to determine that. That's a great way to find out if you're going to last any length of time.
Yeah.
I'll promise you that. But it also pulls out the strengths and weaknesses of each person, really, if you really look at it from that perspective. But not everyone can do that and survive. But we realized real quickly. I realized real fast that as we started that business, that this was good. We were good. We were good partners. We were able to figure out fairly quickly the strengths and weaknesses of each one of us to be able to capitalize on that. Who was good here, who was good here, who was not good on certain areas and didn't want to do certain things, which then since then we've worked very well together. So
I think that's a great lesson for anybody, whether you're married, you're dating, you're single. If you want to really find out how, get a reality check, entrepreneurship is what did it for me. I mean, I thought I knew a lot more than I did until I jumped in. And then you got to build the parachute on the way down. And you can do that. I did that as a solo entrepreneur back in 2017 and was like, holy smokes, I thought I had a lot more of this strategy and game plan figured out. And it took me about a year to just realize what I wanted to focus on. It took that long. And that was without that back and forth. And then you add another person into the mix and you got your personal relationship, business relationship. And that's why I joke and say, it's like, are you kidding me? You're signing up for that. But, but you learn so much about each other. You learned about business, and you do have another partner in crime where you can bounce great ideas off of each other. And so your entrepreneur journey really has also been a big part of your own journey together as a couple. So I think it's beautiful. I think it's also rare. And there's a lot of people I know listening right now that can relate in some way to having that relationship. And it can be tension. It can be a beautiful thing. Sometimes in the same day, you can feel both, right? And Sherri, you're not off the hook. I'm going to have you tell a story here that you shared a little bit with me before we recorded. And I know our audience can really connect and relate to this, because there's people who right now are listening and they want to jump out of the plane and build the parachute because they're in corporate America. Maybe they could either be in one of two groups, right? They could be highly successful in corporate America and unfulfilled, or they could be just kind of not even making it because we're in a time of turmoil. The safe and cushy jobs aren't even safe anymore.
Right.
And so they're considering going after their passion, their dreams, their calling, their purpose. Share how you had that experience back in 2018, I believe it was, right? It was a near-death experience, and then you transferred from corporate America into entrepreneurship.
Right. Yeah, thank you. So in 2018, August of 2018, I found myself in the hospital in the ICU in the burn center for 10 days with a rare disease. And it started out as a simple cold, and it just kept progressing, and obviously didn't get any better to the point where my eyes were completely red. I had blisters on my lips, and, things just weren't normal. And he looked at me one day, and he's, it happened pretty rapidly. There was like, wow, we really need to check this out. And thankfully, with the good doctors here at UNC in Raleigh, North Carolina, or Chapel Hill area, actually, they've done a small miracle, I guess you could say, but they got together and they were able to diagnose this rare disease that anybody can get. And with this, it was the fact that, all my good mucous membranes were being attacked, and it was revolting. So I was burning from the inside out. Hence, that's why I was in the burn center.
Yeah. And that was primarily driven from stress and just the situation you were in?
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the reason I share that story is because, prior to this, I was in a work environment that was very high stressful, high crash and burn, go all the time. And, in leadership at that time was more focused on the bottom line than they were valuing their employees anymore. And, I take the accountability as far as being that rock star, being always that go-getter. However, that it twisted and eventually went down the road of verbal abuse, as well as expectations of working 70 plus hours a week just to kind of keep it going. And nobody deserves that. So that's really what stemmed from that. And your body, we kind of mentally just keep pushing forward. and that's not good.
Mhm.
And we don't allow ourselves to rest when we need to rest. And my body just completely shut down. So if I wasn't going to stop it, my body did.
Wow. I mean, it's scary because I know that the trapped feeling that you're talking about, I think many people can relate to, is you don't know any differently, and you need to contribute. You need to keep performing at work. Otherwise, that can mean termination. It could mean whatever, demotion, or you're just a driven person, so you don't want to be in that situation. You got your family, you got your providing, and but at the same time, it's like kind of hurting you in this situation. It was life. It was detrimental. It was like
Right.
a life or death, near death situation. You were burning internally, which I mean, I can imagine what that feels like. And so it's like your body was like, no, there is no keep going at this point, because your doctors are discovering is that this is a life altering situation. So you had to make some life changes. And how soon after that, because you guys did start together in 2005, right? So there was quite some time from 2005 until 2018 when this happened. And then in 2018, you said, I'm going all in on the entrepreneurial journey. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's pretty much it, right? I mean, 2005, the business that we started there was different than what we have now. It always is, once you've been in business for a while, it kind of always morphs.
Iterations, you keep evolving.
And so our focus was slightly different. And of course, both of us were still working secularly, both at the corporate level. And I'll throw a wrench in this. I was an executive at the same company that this was happening to her. And it was a very eye-opening experience, needless to say.
And you stayed with the company after Sherri left, is that correct?
For a brief time, yes.
Yeah.
And actually, I went back into the fire as well. I didn't
briefly,
for at least 3-4 months.
I think it was 3 months or so,
roughly.
yeah.
So it's not like
I couldn't get her to quit.
Yeah, I wanted to make a difference. So there was a little bit of a.
And you did there for a minute. You did.
Well, you guys don't have quit in you, so you kind of felt
like
I wanted to keep going, even if you felt like you knew it was better for you to leave. You had something to prove, maybe. I know the feeling. Been there, done that. And a lot of people listening to this are watching this on YouTube or driving in their car or working out, and they're like, man, you just know that feeling. It's kind of a guilty feeling. Like you got to do what's right for you, right? I've made decisions to come back to organizations and stay longer than I felt was the right thing, because I felt a respect and a loyalty to the company who gives me an opportunity. And you want to do really well for them. Like a proud parent, you want them to look at you like, man, look at Mike, look at Sherri, look at Lou. They're just crushing it. But at the same time, they're like, this is not really good for me. Or my big picture is here. I'm here. I'm doing great for this company. But if I want to get here, there's going to be a breakup. Is it today? Is it 2 from now? Is it 5 years from now? And your situation was like, get out of here. Like, like the lights and the alarms were going off. So,
yes.
You guys are classy. You're not speaking any ill will on a company. It was the situation. Because I'm sure there's some people that are there, maybe it was okay or whatever, but we'll leave that as is, because you guys decided to move on, which is amazing, and get into entrepreneurship, which is, again, it's also in itself kind of a situation that some people are going to have parents or grandparents or a family situation where they kind of grow up with it. Others, they're the first generation. What about for you guys? Was this all new to you? And where did that itch and dream come from?
That's a good one. He has more of a history with his parents, having side businesses and their family. With me, I can't, historically, nobody in my family is really an entrepreneur per se.
I would say your mom has an entrepreneurship spirit. And like, you can tell she runs the show. Like, she's really good at that, but which got your leadership kind of developed. For me, I had,
those influences.
My dad, my father was retired military, and he started his own business once he retired. For a while, and then he wanted to get back into the workforce and have steady pay. So he brought my uncle and his brother. So my uncle ended up owning that business for a long time. We retired, handed it to his son. On my mom's side, my uncle, a couple of uncles on my mom's side also own their own businesses. So it's kind of one of those. My mom actually did some things on the side too. So it has kind of been built into my spirit a little bit. I've always had that entrepreneurship, and ever since I can remember, even in high school, when you're bootlegging, selling bootleg tapes or bubble gum or whatever it is, it was always that that spirit of trying to do that. I
buy them 10 for $1, sell them for a quarter.
Right,
yes,
right.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Stuff like that.
Yeah, that's cool. So even though like your uncles weren't necessarily direct mentors, you saw through their actions and kind of what they were doing, and something triggered like, that's pretty cool. This guy's running his own show or whatever it might be. And Sherri, was it your mother that had some qualities, or was that Lou?
Yeah. Yeah, my mom had
some qualities, even though she wasn't necessarily owning a business, a service, that kind of thing.
Right.
What would you guys say are some great qualities that we learn through entrepreneurship?
I would say the number one quality that to learn sooner than later is how to lead yourself first. And that really is for any leader, right? And if you're going to become an entrepreneur, and which I everyone should consider it, because it's leadership is learned, and you really need to understand that piece of it as you're going through becoming your own boss, if you will. I don't really firmly believe that you're ever your own boss. I think that's a cliche, and I think it's a terrible way to think about it, because you have clients, you have people, and what you're doing has a purpose and a why, and that is the reason that you're serving your own business doing that. But you've got to start with you first. So if I was to say that one of the most important things to do is to invest in you and in your own personal growth, and at the same time, the process of understanding what it takes to be a highly successful entrepreneur, using your resources around you to be able to capitalize on that. And it doesn't happen overnight. Don't get trapped into those ideas that there's no such thing as a self-made millionaire.
If it shows up overnight, guess what can happen the next night? It can be gone, right?
It's gone.
Guys, I wrote 3 big things down. 1 and 2 kind of connect. It's lead yourself first and have a service above self mentality. I wrote down because, there's this whole boss thing. I see it all over social media, like be your own boss, or even like the boss lady thing. And I support women entrepreneurs like crazy. I love it. I love seeing anybody do well. And I know it's kind of a thing, like the boss chick thing, but at the same time, it's like really, who do you want to be bossing around? The whole idea is to serve. And I know they mean that with the 2. It's just kind of the confidence thing, which is cool. But I like the fact that you say, look, stop trying to be like this boss character or whatever, leader, this big leadership guy or gal. You're serving. Like if you're at the top, you got all these people you got to take care of. It's like a parent. You don't sit there and be like, I'm a parent so I can boss my kids around today. I'm going to lead them and so they can have a great life. And, whatever it is that they choose to do, we want to help them get there. Right. So that's how really, I think I never thought of it directly like that, but parenting and entrepreneurship is similar in a way. And also a key word I wrote down here too is resourcefulness. Holy smokes. We learn that as parents, right? Like whether you're working at 3 jobs trying to, help out your kids, or if your kid zings you with something that you never dealt with in your life, you're not just going to say, I don't know. I don't have the answer. What are you going to do? You can go and find it. You're going to figure it out. We have Google at our fingertips. We library at a touch of a button of information. So there's no excuses to be ignorant anymore, right? Like 100 years ago, you could be like, I don't know, like we're stuck, we're trapped. Now it's like you figure it out. And that's the big one for me, guys, was and anyone listening, for me as an entrepreneur, the best thing I learned that first year of trying to figure it all out was the resourcefulness. Like whenever a friend or family, we'd schedule, like we're going to a movie, dinner, hangout, whatever. And there's ever like in the group text, like a hiccup, I was always the one to figure it out, because I was doing that on a natural basis with my business. And I didn't even realize it until starting to work with people that were just wired a little differently. And there was all these roadblocks. And I was like, these aren't even really roadblocks. It's just, we don't have all the information, gather it, come back and replan the situation with everything you can, right? Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you. And that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight. And Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. Don't all fall short because of a lack of information. It's just not an excuse.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know, so you've got to figure it out.
Yeah, and so much out there. You guys learn from some of the greats. I rattled them off: Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Maxwell, Jack Canfield. I mean, you name it, right? I don't want to leave out Paul Martinelli. I don't know him as well, but let's talk about the importance of a good mentor. You both have them currently, and you've had them in the past. Who wants to take this one? The importance of having great mentorship.
Good.
Sure. Yeah, I can't stress that enough. I mean, after my hospital incident, I really had a newfound purpose, to really dive into personal development and help my transformation even further. It was something that I should have done, deeper, but you just never had the time. We do that all the time. We do that in different parts of our life until something catastrophe happens. You hear it all the time in fitness world. Oh my gosh, I have a heart attack. Oh, okay. I guess I should have, ate better and not eat processed food, or maybe exercised a little bit. So let's be proactive. So unfortunately that happened and it happened, but that's okay because it really helped me transform and lean into mentors, lean into the greats that are out there, either through a book, through webinars, through articles, anything that you can get your hands on. I know it's very common for people who are like, well, I don't know where to start. Like all these great people are just so up there, like I can't relate. But honestly, just kind of pick one that feels right for you. So you can actually just read and then just kind of like reflect on it. But here's the kicker. Just because you read it, and we got books, all of us, right, at some point, and there's a whole shelf, I'm sure. But here's the thing, don't just read it and then nothing afterward.
Right.
You got to apply it. Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Otherwise it's what they call that shelf
help book, shelf help. And they just like, yeah, that's nice. But then you don't apply it. So that's a big thing. You need to at least share with at least one other person to be like, hey, this is what I read and this is amazing stuff. And then you share it to that person. So again, then it blossoms from there, and it just kind of
encourage that person to share with somebody else, because then that grows other people too. That's the whole purpose of mentoring.
Right.
Well, it's like the teachers are always learning the most too in the classroom, because not only are they going through the material and they need to know it to educate, and then there's a checks and balances. They're checking if people are accurate on the information. And then also they have people that are helping learn it, maybe after school and mentorship roles, or, just like the one-on-one with the student. And then you learn it on a different level because you're learning how people are actually understanding the information, right? So I feel like the teacher is always the best student. Guess what? We tied it all back together. I don't even know if you guys realize it, but we just talked about resourcefulness and getting information. Mentorship's the next level. So you can get information from books that mentors may write, but they're not necessarily your one-on-one mentor. You still get mentoring through their practices. And I have many great books I've read multiple times with highlights, right?
Right.
The great books have every page is just like completely highlighted. Yeah. And the next step is now having that checks and balances where the person goes, okay, great. You said you're going to reevaluate your day and get up at 4:30 a.m. so you can get into the gym because you're talking about fitness. You keep talking about fitness and you're talking about it. And every Monday you keep talking about it, but you're not doing it. So understanding it's one thing, applying the knowledge is another. And then a mentorship, I'd say, is even like that third level that takes it, into the, how are you applying it? And look, just applying it, it's accountability, but it's also making sure you're doing it right. Can you imagine just going to the gym, first time you've ever been there, there's a lot of equipment, and you just start doing random stuff with the equipment, opposed to having a skilled trainer sit with you and go, What are you looking to achieve?
That's right.
Oh, I want huge biceps. Well, you're going to do these 6 things every single day for a month, and you're going to notice different definition there. If you want to lose weight and do cardio, they're going to give you cardio-based workouts. They're not just, so it's the same thing in your business. Like, what are they're going to evaluate your holes, put you in a place to succeed, and then have it more narrowed. Otherwise, you can be in the gym, saying that obviously, I mean, literally or figuratively in your business. And that was me my first year. I was in the gym with all the equipment. It was all there in front of me. And I was just like doing this and run over here on the treadmill and doing
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not seeing any results, guys. I'm hanging out here. But it was like, okay. And the other thing you guys do really well is you realize resourcefulness is such a key, and you get it through mastermind groups. So now there's mentorship happening there as well. Talk about, Lou, why don't you tell us about the importance of mastermind groups and what value you've gotten over the years by doing that.
Sure. And mastermind, it's interesting because mastermind is that word thrown around a lot. But what a mastermind really is bringing people that are like-minded together to be able to learn about one another, resources, and to grow in a fashion that's going to help them attain where they want to be, right? And so there's many ways you can do that. For me, being a part of groups like that and masterminds and us running those has helped us and has helped other people to grow from where they are now to where they intend to be. And I give you a great example. We ran during COVID when the shutdowns had just began last year, March about. We sat down, of course, we had mentors and we have coaches for us, and said, hey, we had this collaborative discussion, multiple, and it was a consensus that we had to do everything we could to give back to people something that they could hold on to during this crisis to help them continually maintain who they are, where they want to be, and try to help so that their growth isn't stunted from where they are.
Or they can grow even more in the face of it.
And grow even more. That's exactly it. And that was our intention.
How can we use this for us and it's not happening to us, right?
That's exactly it. And so we did that. We didn't charge for any of those masterminds or any of those webinars. We said, we've got to give something so that we can help people continue to grow, because now we've got this interruption that we can't control. And it was very rewarding.
So you remain connected with many of the people that you've met and worked with, and probably grew a deeper relationship, because through a time you would never say, hey guys, I'm so glad we got this pandemic and we get to meet more people because of a pandemic. But at the end of the day, it's like, look, it's going to happen. It was happening either way.
Right.
So either it could happen and you guys met nobody and didn't do a mastermind group, or it happened and, okay, what can we learn from this? How many more people can we help? And that's another trait of entrepreneurship, is seeing a problem and figuring out how we can, I don't want to say benefit from it necessarily, but like, how can we turn it into something positive, right?
That's it. It's also a strength of a leader. Yeah. Leaders, we figured out, like Sherri talks about this too, where we identified who the players and who the pretenders were during this time. Those leaders that are true leaders and figured out a way to pivot and give back and help and try to because we live for stuff like this. As leaders, we train. If you go through the training, you're developing yourself, you're developing people, you are ready for crisis. It's not fun, it's not good, but you're ready.
Like a prepared Marine. Like the reason they go through that rigorous training isn't just to beat people up and put them through training. It's so when they're in the face of everything flying at them, literally, or attacking them, they are going to react instantaneously without question or thought, and just, that's a good leader. A leader's prepared for it. That's why a great athlete, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Lou, but a great athlete, the best of the best, can have linemen breathing down their neck and their quarterback who can deliver a football accurately in the face of pressure. And those that are consistent Pro Bowlers, Hall of Famers, and Super Bowl champions tend to be ones that when you throw them a lot, they can figure out a way to still get the job done. And I hate to say it because I live in Buffalo, but one of the guys that is known for this is Tom Brady, down 28-3, and he still found a way to win. And whether you talk about scandals and everything else, I know he's got baggage, but he still gets the job done among the people around him. And he's a leader who earns the respect instantaneously now of his teammates, which is why he went to Tampa, and in 1 year can get everyone bought in on that team. And he wasn't the head coach, but he kind of took on a similar what you would get from the coach. And that's what you're talking about in this leadership deal is, look, face of adversity, all these things coming at you. The quicker you respond is not, some people have it and don't have it. It's practice and training over time. It's learned. Some might have more natural skills. Let's be real, but it's learned, and it's learned through leadership, the books you guys read, the masterminds you guys hold, and you guys are the teachers sometimes, and you're the students. Because guess what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to always be learning, or hey, I got it all figured out, right? I'm pretty sure Tony Robbins spends time in his day reading, learning, and finding more information for himself. So number one thing, lead yourself first. I know he does that, or anyone here. So if you want to elaborate a little bit more on that about like how you have grown as a leader.
Yeah, I mean, I could start with that one. So, I mean, the thing is with, we were talking about mentorship and putting action and accountability, that's why it's so good to have coaches. I mean, yes, we're coaches, but coaches need coaches. Don't be fooled in the fact that you're at some level, whatever you are, in your expertise, and say, oh, I'm good, thanks, I'm on the top of the mountain, and then like, that's it. That's where it's dangerous. That's where, things can go awry. We strongly encourage that with all our partners to keep growing, have that the growth mindset versus fixed mindset. We hear this quite frequently, right? You have to keep that curiosity. And that's what we have learned from our mentors, to keep that going. Keep asking questions. Keep figuring out, going, well, what else? What else?
And what's next?
What is next? And what is next? And that is so key, because that and having that mindset really has flipped the script, at least for me and for our business, because it's not about us. It's about them. And that's what goes back to the servant leadership, people before profit. And that's what any leader, if you're ready for that role, it's a responsibility that you're taking care of your people, and how can you serve your people? And in turn, that will be profitable. It will be a very fruitful endeavor at the end.
It's a side effect.
It is. It's a side effect for that. So
people
learning
before profit. I just wrote that down. That's amazing. People before profit. So true. And you're saying learning that over time, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, the learning over time, and making the failures and making the mistakes. It's okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of it, is just understanding that you've got to. There's a mentor of ours, Paul Martinelli, as a matter of fact, one of his quotes that I love, and I breathe this and I think of it every day now, is success happens where you step, not where you stand. So it takes motion. It takes motion. That's it. It takes action. No matter what action you're taking, just take the action. Use those resources. And when there's no such thing as reaching the top.
Right.
Learning, being a successful leader. See, leadership is about influence, Mike. That's all it is. It's influence and how you influence other people. That's what leadership is. So you think of it that way. It's not about position. It doesn't matter what position you are. Just like you were mentioning with Tom Brady, he wasn't the coach, but he was a leader. And there's so many other people like that. And it's because the influence that they have on their people and the team, even their own peers, like they're be the same level. Because that's always going to be that's a learning process. That's a lifetime journey. You're going to learn, you're going to grow, you're going to learn, you're going to grow, you're going to unlearn, relearn again. That is the nature of how it is. And that's why you need people like mentors and coaches to be there to help you get where you intend to be, to see something that you may not see.
Yeah, I think it's so important. You said forward thinking, forward minded, but also like the motion of stepping instead of standing still. It's so important, because you look back after even those years, I felt like, man, this is like taking a lot longer than I thought to come together. I was taking steps consistently. So my personal growth was going through the roof, and failing fast and forward, the whole deal, whatever catchphase you want, was literally happening. These are real things. They're not just cute sayings in books.
Sure.
Real things. They're not just Instagram quotes. It really, what you just said about stepping forward instead of standing is real. And I can look back and say, man, even when things seemed like they weren't going well, how much I learned. And then when things do go well, you don't forget it. And that hurt you feel, the hurt you felt in 2018 when things were literally going awry is what lights you up and ignites you now when things are going well. You appreciate it with immense gratitude. You wouldn't be able to feel that. I'm not saying, guys, go and hurt yourself or have a bad situation so you can appreciate it more. But those things that are inevitable or out of your control, when you flip them to like figure out how you can reflect in gratitude, I think it's so powerful. And I have a handful of questions I still want to get to with about a little less than 15 minutes left. And the people that are tuning in and are interested in you guys because of the couple aspect of this, it's different. It's unique. I've had so many great, incredible people on the show. I've had some mother and daughter situations with authors who wrote books about their daughters that have been tremendous. But I believe you guys are the first couple. So I don't want to miss that opportunity because there's a lot there. That's really important that we can learn from you guys. So what I'd like to do is actually talk about two things: the pros of working together as a couple in business, and then some of the things that maybe are challenges or disadvantages that are very real. So why don't we start with the positive and go pros first?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, the pros is that, once we figured out our strengths, and that really helped with a human behavioral assessment. I strongly recommend that to any couple, actually, even if they're not in business, to find out what your strengths are and how you communicate and what that language is. So that's number one. So once you get that, having the strengths really can ease the burden of those things that you don't like. So that's why we complement each other quite well when we're like, oh man, I don't have the patience for that. And then be like, oh, well, I do. I don't mind that. So you can find that blend.
That's what it is. It's identifying that. And I agree with that. The pros is once you can identify that piece of it, you have to first of all realize as a married couple that there is a distinction between your married life and your business life. And they will blend, and that's just inevitable. But there's ways that you got to create boundaries. But if you're already going to be in business together, you're going to be spending every day together, a lot more time than most couples do, making business decisions together and household decisions together all at the same time. Why spend time figuring out and arguing and fighting about who does what or who makes the decisions on what? It's pointless. You've got to identify what your strengths and your opportunities are first. Like, what it comes down to is your strengths. What are each one of your strengths? And once you identify what those strengths are, then it's easy, because then for us, it was like, Sherri says, well, I'll tell you right now, I don't like doing this, or this. And I said, well, I love doing that.
Right.
He goes, well, you can have it. And I said, well, I don't like this. He goes, well, I love doing that. And so once you identify it, it's easy to make that decision. If something comes up, we both like something, we do it together.
Yeah.
And so that's the pros there.
That's a huge thing. I'm starring it. I want people to go back and re-listen to that, because whether it's business, entrepreneurship, family, whatever it is, personal development, we hear a lot, and it's kind of the way that we're educated and developed as children is to look at the things that Johnny's not doing well and tell him about it over and over again and try to correct it. If he's not fast or learning basketball, we sit there and try to help him learn how to dribble. And we spend all this time and we yell at him until he, maybe not literally, but the whole classroom stops and looks until he can figure it out. Instead of finding out that maybe he's really good in science and he should just be spending time there because he can be the next great scientist. And dribbling a basketball is not something he cares to do and wants to do. And hey, that's fine. But the kid who loves it and breathes it and is thinking about it all the time, give him some, after he's done this homework, let him go shoot hoops, encourage your strength. So you guys can sit there and go, oh my gosh, Lou, you're goofing up the laundry again, whatever. You keep forgetting to get it out of the dryer. Look, it's a 2-step process. You wash it, you get it. And maybe Sherri's just I don't mind doing the laundry. I'll just do it. I'm down there. My office is near the deal. And I'm just going to do it. And you figure it out through the things that you guys actually either enjoy doing, that you're stronger in. Huge lesson. I got that started. It's a reminder for myself to stop trying to correct everything that might be wrong and try to amplify the things that are going well or that are really strong.
Because you all enjoy it better. You just enjoy your days better and your lives better when you can do what you don't mind doing, you know?
Yeah. Not saying, look, if there's something that you need to fix, obviously you're correct. That we're not saying just forget about it. I'm just saying don't spend all your time correcting something that's not really important to where you want to go. If it's something that you need to learn to get the task done, then you got to learn it.
Right.
You guys aren't talking about that. You're talking about finding the strengths in each other. Love it. What are some disadvantages? Maybe, I mean, we got to get a little real here. And I don't want to cause any adversity, but no, like, let's be real about it a lot. Yeah. What are some, tell us, maybe there's a couple, like, should we go into business? I don't want it to hurt or hinder our relationship. What are some concerns?
I think as I mentioned before, just make sure that as you decide to make that happen, that you understand each other well and understand and try to figure out each other's strengths and work together on it. I mean, that's just what needs to happen. The cons,
I think just the boundaries.
It's the boundaries of time.
I'm guilty of it big time. He has to stop. That's why he's the accountability part on this part. I'm notorious for constantly thinking about work. What can we do better? What can we do? What next? You know, I'm like always thinking that. And, you know, we'll be having dinner. We enjoy making dinner with each other and we'll talk, and then we'll, you know, here I'm coming up with like ideas maybe, or like, what about this or what about that? And then we'll sit down and I'm like, okay, we're not talking about work. I'm exhausted. You know?
Yeah,
so we have to, you know, let's not talk about it. So that's difficult. We've worked with other jobs too. And even like a side note real quick, it's like, you know, we worked at the same job, a couple of jobs actually. We have
companies. We've worked together at a couple.
Yeah, 2 or 3 companies
before.
And we, you know, which is kind of cool because at least we had that bond to be like, oh, what about this or what about that? But then at the same token, then that's all we're talking about. And that's not kind of, you know, it's a little lopsided. So just make sure you do have as the relationship part, making sure you're going out on dates, making sure you're experiencing something new and getting out of the house.
And when you're out of the house and on a date, don't talk about work.
I know.
If at all possible, unless that's the plan.
Yeah.
Like agree on basically come to an agreement.
Yeah.
On what those boundaries look like, okay? On certain times of night, okay, listen, I know things go, you're on your own business. Sometimes we don't work 9 to 5. Okay, every day's different. Sometimes we work on weekends. That's just the way it is being an entrepreneur, right?
So
but
good,
set the boundary and set up those times, be more, sometimes for us, we do this challenges too, is we got to become intentional about setting days where that day, on next week, on Saturday, we're not doing any work. We're going to focus on us. We're going to focus on the house. We're going to be out in the yard. Make those intentional moments like you did when you were dating. Right. You set up dates. Right.
Well, it's huge. It's expectations, guys. Like another word. I mean,
expectations.
I'm running out of room on my notes. Okay.
Right.
You know, like expectations are huge. So it's whether it's in business, personal, dating, marriage, with your children. If you set up an expectation and deliver on it, there's like a magic that's there because you're building trust in each other. And like Lou, if you said, hey, Tuesday night we're going out and I promise we're not going to talk about work, and then all you do is talk about work, how is she going to feel? You're not listening. You're not. So that's important as well as to like hold yourself accountable to what you say you're going to do. But I think it's great, like the communication you guys have, and I can just tell like the magic is a word I just said a second ago. You guys have a great bond, and doing an interview like this, I hope for you guys is a great reflection for you guys to just realize where you started in the 05 moment, the 18 situation, and many others in between, and where you're at today. And like, you know, whether you want to sit here and admit it, I know you're not on the show right now to do that. Hey, look at us. But just be very proud of what you guys have, because it is magical. It's something that I'm inspired by watching you. Okay, because as I record this interview, hey, look, I'm a single entrepreneur, and you know, finding someone like Sherri, you know, or someone who's looking for someone like a Lou, who just gets it and is going to be your partner in this situation. I think it's a beautiful thing. It has nothing to do with business though. That's just life. Like find a life partner who's going to go to bat with you and celebrate your wins and help you during your weakest times. And I can see the reason you guys are where you're at today. We didn't even talk about it, but when times were rough, I can see that you lift each other up.
Yes.
And so reflect on that after this interview and just realize what you have is a beautiful thing. It truly is. So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I want you to talk a little bit about the mission, because we didn't really talk so much about what you do. We talked about some things, some mastermind groups and education that you guys do. But what is your overall mission with Lou Everett Group?
To transform today's leaders.
Yeah. So everything we're talking about, all these bullet points, is you want to see people apply it and help them do that.
Yeah. And here's the thing is that, again, we've already talked about this, right, Mike, where leadership is learned, right? It's something you learn, under identifying who you are first, right? We have, Sherri and I are co-authoring a book that's going to be released August, September this year.
Okay.
And it's called Empowerment Leadership. And it starts with an M, not EM. So the E's off of it. It's Empowerment Leadership, the 10 principles every leader must follow to lead with influence. Each one of those 10 letters in the word empowerment without the E is a principle. It's the first letter of each principle. That first principle is me, M-E, the me principle. It all starts with you and ends with you, right? That's just the first principle out of the 10. It's the purpose that we serve is to help leaders understand, even if you're not a leader. I mean, as an example, we work with executives that are leaders a little bit, but we're not working for the company. Our partner is that person that's coming to us and said, hey, I've got a new boss, quote unquote, that is replaced my old boss. And this one is very different, and basically said, this is all your weaknesses and you have 6 months to clean it up. And I've been here 8 years. What do I do? We believe that our partners have an idea. They know the direction they need to go in. What we do as coaches is we guide them to find out what that value is. What is that strength? Just by asking questions and guiding through the process of, where are you now? Where do you intend to be? Is your goal smaller or bigger than what you really want? All those types of things. What is your purpose? What is your why?
Yeah. I love when I meet new people, either through interviewing like this on Mic'd Up, or just Zoom calls with connections on LinkedIn, is seeing how someone got to where they're at today, and then where they want to go, and then just seeing how it can maybe help them get there. And that's just from a connector standpoint. And you guys are taking it further, where you're hands-on with actually getting people there. And that has to be incredibly rewarding for you as well. Unfortunately, we only have 2 minutes left. There's a whole nother story with Lou that I think it's not going to make it. I don't think it's going to make it.
That's okay. We bring us back.
It'll be a part 2.
I was going to. This is definitely part 2 worthy, and maybe part 3 worthy. So definitely teasing that with a real possibility of making it happen. With the last 1 minute, what I'd like you guys to do, and there's so much we didn't even get to here, but the last thing I'd like you to do, if you can deliver a message. We talked about your mission. Well, my mission is to inspire our audience to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. So if we can give them a clear and concise message to do that, what would you tell them?
It starts with you. Right? It starts with you. Reach out to people like us, Mike, whomever, to give you some, okay, here's the direction we need to go. We all get stuck. We call it the suckness of stuckness. Okay. And it's okay. We all get stuck along the journey multiple times. The whole point, though, and the missions that we're talking about here, and Mike, on our mission seems to be very similar, is the transformation piece. Change is not an event. All right. Change is not an event. It's a process. Event can start the process. You go to this amazing workshop. I mean, how many times have we gone to a workshop? I know I have a workshop, a webinar, conference, and you come back all jazzed up and ready to go, and you're jazzed up for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden you're back to old habits because of something's missing. What we would like to challenge all of your listeners to do, what is that missing piece? And that missing piece can can change your life. I'll promise you, I am an example of that. Sherri's an example of what coaching and mentoring can do to you. and help you with, it's okay to ask for help because there's people here that want to.
Yeah.
Right. So understand, change is not an event. It's a process. And just keep going and finding ways to step.
Yeah. And like, again, it's having someone, and I've interviewed multiple people who are either mentors themselves or talk about the topic of mentorship. And it's like getting in a helicopter view. And I like the helicopter analogy because like you can move, it's a little bit more shifty. So you're with someone who says, hey, we want to go there. You can go there pretty quickly.
Right.
But not only that is you're getting the view and you're getting to see something with someone who's either done it before, been there, done that. So they can now evaluate and understand there's a wall here. We need to fly. We need to go higher. We need to go over here. So they're going to help navigate it so much better than you can do by yourself at that point in time, because you're experiencing everything kind of for the first time or without understanding if it's good, bad, or ugly.
Right.
So they can help you assess it. Then I love the fact that they can also help, actually give you things that you can apply and learn and change and adapt. And so it's not just like, again, like reading something is one thing, but the mentorship factor is taking it, applying it, the accountability. There's so many different things. So I think that's incredibly important. So if anyone could take away, there's so many bullet points. I know we're a couple minutes over, but lead yourself first, invest in yourself, be resourceful. Find a great mentor that you connect with and relate to. If you don't connect and relate well with someone, pick a different mentor, right? Mastermind groups, leadership. There's so many great things that I learned from you guys. Drive with your strengths instead of trying to just overcome weaknesses all day long. Right. So figure out what you're great at. I always like to end the interview right here. Be great and be grateful. And I'm extremely grateful for you guys being on the show. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate being friends, and we're going to stay connected.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, thank you for having us, and I want to encourage any of your listeners just to go to our website, reach out to us. We love hearing from people. There's a way to reach out.
Right. Again, LouEverettGroup.com. Thank you guys. Perfect. You're amazing. So just keep inspiring and doing your thing, and a lot of people are going to benefit from this conversation. So thank you for this.
You bet. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate what you do as well.
Hey guys, this is Mike, and I wanted to personally thank you for tuning in, for being part of my journey. Together we can make a positive impact in the world. A shout out to everyone who's been tuning in. I love reading your feedback and appreciate the reviews on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and the messages that have been coming in on social media as well. I love you guys. Thank you so much for making this journey as much fun as it's been so far. I'm doing what I love, and it's awesome to hear that it's showing up in the podcast. If you haven't left a review yet, it's greatly appreciated if you do. And of course, if you share any content on social as well, I see it all and I appreciate you helping me spread the love. You can check out more show notes and information at mikeduppodcast.com, MIKED uppodcast.com, powered by Social Chameleon. You know what to do. Be great and be grateful.